Welcome to episode 76 of Beer with Strangers. I'm your host, Tony Russo, and I'm joined this week, as I'm joined each week by my co-host, Doug Griffith.
Good afternoon, Tony. I almost said good morning, but it is afternoon. And it's a lovely afternoon. Can't believe how nice and warm it is actually outside. Sunny, light breeze. What a beautiful fall day.
Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to my wife this morning. I got out one of my heaviest cotton shirts, and I like to iron my shirts
today.
Yeah, and she said, I said to me, I'm like, I'm having trouble ironing this shirt, but I said, but these big cotton shirts. She's like, it's gonna be like 70 degrees today.
Yeah.
You don't want.
I say, fall day. It's early fall.
Yeah.
Like I just after all this. Well, I thought we were gonna have more rain.
Yeah.
And I thought it would get colder, but it never really did. And it's a wonderful day.
Yeah, it's a spectacular day, and at the end of a pretty spectacular weekend, we can get right into it because we had the Short Craft Beer Festival this weekend.
That was a great event. I really liked that. Had a lot of people show up. We had 5 different things we were actually pouring over the weekend. So we had the 2 craft beers that we brewed at Assawaman. That were brewed by Assawaman and Stuarts Brewing that day. They were very popular. Came up, which we talked about last week, with 2 recipes,
But that beats me was a good beer though. I hadn't tried that until the festival, and that was quite a good beer.
And the Stormy Morning, which was Sean's recipe for the breakfast porter,
which was also a great beer, but I had already tried that.
And then we had cider. That was one of the most surprising for me. We went through the cider faster than we went through anything. People were, well, I shouldn't say. A lot of people just didn't want the beer. They wanted something besides beer, which I'm not sure why they came to the event if they didn't want beer, but I think they came with friends and we had cider. So we had people just coming back time and time again until it was gone.
And what was really interesting was, it was funny, I'd never seen like Patty on the job, but every time someone was like, this cider is my favorite, she'd be like, very easy to make.
Well, that's the whole point for us being there.
Right,
We don't have product that we can distribute like the other breweries there. That's their whole thing. We're about getting people to do it at home for their own use.
Right. Oh, and actually I wanted to talk to you about that. It's not on the list, but now that you mentioned it, how much easier is it to brew cider? Is cider the easiest one?
It's the easiest thing to do. You just put some warm water in, dissolve the sugar and the juice that comes in the bag, top it up to the 6-gallon mark, and yes, it makes 6 gallons of cider. And that comes out to be about 5.2 or 5.5% alcohol. It takes about 2 weeks to get it done, where it's actually finished fermenting and cleared, and then you either bottle it and or keg it. So, but it's really easy. 2 weeks to be drinking.
Yeah.
Now, if you want carbonated, it would another week to 10 days. But if you've got a kegging system, you can have it in the keg and drink it in 2 weeks.
That's fantastic. And my uncle actually did, I think he said 100 gallons of wine.
Wow.
50 gallons of wine from grapes.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
For the crushing and then the
pressing.
Yeah,
he said he just has a little hand machine he does it with. So this is easier than that for sure.
Yeah, last year I did 400 pounds, and it takes a little over an hour to get them all crushed. So, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, I can see. Not bad.
And 400 pounds is?
That's 11 lugs. Each lug is 36 pounds, which roughly makes 3 gallons per lug. So
33 gallons?
Well, I had 11, so yeah.
It's funny the things that are just as you do in your head, and I'm like, all right, so can we get a pencil out? So yeah, I don't want to beat the cider thing to death, but you have a lot of people that start with cider and then move on to.
No, we have a lot of actually brewers who have wives who like cider and honey.
And as long as they do it.
Or they also say, hey, I had something, I tasted a cider, I liked it. Let's make it. It's easy. So
right. And do ciders come in kits like beer?
Yeah, they come in a pouch, which includes the juice, and then it's all included in one pouch, but in a separate pouch, once you cut the top off, you get a juice side and a dry side. And dry side, you get this sweetener. It comes with a little sweetener. If you want it dry or medium or sweet, you add the sweetener to sweeten. If it's something besides plain apple, it comes with flavoring. And that could be pear, strawberry, or mixed berry, blueberry, cherry, are the flavorings. And then, of course, yeast. You need yeast.
Right. So. And those are, I'm sorry, that was the other thing. So my uncle, I wanted to talk to you about this. My uncle's neighbor, this old Italian guy, and he's like, don't kill the yeast, use the wild yeast, and don't put in any extra yeast. And my uncle, to appease him, he said it was 2 weeks, he said nothing. And then in this area, this is in Jersey, so.
Yeah. Well, even there, I think
it's not that far.
The climate's not conducive to good grape growing areas, or this is not a good grape growing area because it has too much rain, which causes too many fungal problems, which means the predominant thing that's going to probably ferment your wine is not a good wine yeast.
Right, it's not a quality yeast.
Right. In good grape growing areas, there is a reason why things are better, because probably have less rain for the most part. The grapes become sweet. Here, generally, we don't have enough sun long term. You have cloudy days, which don't promote good grape growth or sugar in the grapes. And also, in good grape growing areas, they're always taking what's left of, or what's out of the fermenter, and it goes back on the fields. So over time, you get more and more good yeast in relationship to the poor yeast.
Right.
And in good grape growing areas where they don't have rain to begin with, the fungal problems aren't there that we have here, where things just get molds and mildews and everything, get nasties on it.
Right. There was a guy, he lives in Stockton or out that way. He was growing. There's a grape that's only good for wine once the fungus has.
Oh yeah, botrytis.
Botrytis, yes.
Yeah, they inoculate it, and it shrivels the grape in a good way. It's a good fungus. Mm-hmm. It causes the sugar content to go up, and that's the French Sauternes generally are.
Right.
It makes the wine look yellowish.
It is. It's a yellowy wine. I had a little bit of it. I didn't have the good stuff because it can be expensive, but it was very, very sweet. Yeah. He's like, this is. He said it's a dessert wine. I'm like, this is dessert.
Well, it's because the yeast that they've used to ferment it can't ferment all the sugars. Mm-hmm. The alcohol gets up there some 14 or 15%, and then just kills the yeast. And then you have residual sugars left that didn't ferment out, and that's why it's good dessert wine.
Wow. Yeah. So the yeast actually dies before it's done fermenting out. It's still,
and that's the problem that you talked about with using the natural yeast off the grapes. It will ferment, but you don't know what's fermenting, and a lot of times the yeast are just not tolerant of the alcohol that they are producing, so they die. Yeah, and that's what he said. He said it was a couple. I don't know if it was 2 weeks. I think it was a couple days, and there was no bubbles. And so he didn't kill the yeast that was in there, but he threw more in. And he said it took off, right?
He said it took off, but yeah, he does it in garbage. I said, I asked him if he had. He said he does it just in those big like trash cans. Yeah.
But just think, I mean, in good grape growing areas, grapes are very wild, and they could take and squeeze them, put them in something to hold them, and it would ferment.
Right.
And over time, that fermentation got better and better. Probably the alcoholic content went up because they found out that yeast strains got better and better, even though they didn't know it.
Right. Well, like you said, dumping it back on.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. So that was wine talking.
Yeah,
we're gonna do more. We should do more wine. Eventually, we're gonna have Patty on, and she's gonna do a wine talk with us. Also coming up in the near future, we'll be doing the video we've been promising on brewing. I'm brewing a batch of beer, so we'll get that in the coming weeks, and lots of fun stuff going on. You guys are going to this weekend, and we'll hit it again, but you're going to
the BBQ.
Yes.
That's Inner River Inlet,
and that
on the Atlantic.
and that's in like Bethany. We were trying to remember
between Bethany and Dewey Beach.
And that's it. Is this the first time you're doing it? Is this the first time they're having it?
Yes, first year of it. And they've been promoting it pretty well. I think we've got one of the best things is prediction of good weather.
Yes.
So
it looks like it's going to be
Friday and Saturday are supposed to be clear, which is the main thing. Don't want rain or stormy weather. Although I'll have some stormy morning there. But I think the weather should be good. Little breezy, but 60s temperatures.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be pretty nice.
Should be really good.
It's funny because I always tease you, and I tease my wife a little bit about like knowing what the weather is because I never know what it is. But I now write for OceanCity.com, and people actually will send me emails. I'm like, it took you longer to send me an email to see if it was going to be nice than, because you know what I do when you send me an email? Well, I go to weather.com or whatever. I go to CNN, and I'm like,
you get questions of what the weather's going to be?
I all the time. Is it going to be nice? And I actually wrote a little story, said it's always beautiful in Ocean City. When I was in Salisbury and the weather was, I was in the hotel business, and whenever the weather was questionable, and this was back in the 90s, people would call and say, what's the weather going to be? And I'm like, it's always beautiful in Salisbury because we didn't want them to cancel.
So you got a degree in meteorology?
Yes, I do. I do.
Wow.
I got it on the internet. But yes, it is going to be beautiful, and they're doing a wine festival of some sort down there. I'll be down there taking pictures of, and that should be lots of fun. But we have plenty of news today that we wanted to. Oh, we didn't even get to the Shore Craft Beer Festival. So I wanted to talk about. I did a talk, and I already half warned my publisher that I'm not doing any book signings ever again. I'll do a talk, or nothing at all, and both of those are fine. But whenever I do a talk, at least I can sit there for hours and not sell any books. But whenever I do a talk, somebody buys a book because they get engaged and they start talking to me, and it's funny.
We sold some of your books.
Yeah, and
referred some people to you for. All the books we had you had already signed, but you would personalize them.
Right, make it out to whoever they want. But it's funny in the salesman in me is after a while, because people come up and they'll talk to me, and I'll just tell them, just a bunch of stuff that's in the book, and we'll talk. And after a while, they feel like, oh well, I probably should. I like him. We made this connection. Now I should go buy the book. And that only happens in a talk. It doesn't happen when you're just sitting in a mall or whatever, waiting for someone to come up. So you can.
It's a personal interaction.
It is. It's making things personal. Which is a lot of fun, and which was the other point of the Shore Craft Beer Festival, where you had people, like one of the rules to be a part of it was you had to send someone from the brewery who knew what they were talking about.
Right.
So that way people could talk about the beer and get to know it better.
That's the same thing with the Good Beer Festival for the locals.
To have it be in the local area, it's exactly the same thing. And I think it works out well. One of the things I'm not sure about, and I'd like to ask you, I don't know if it needs to get any bigger. Do you that was cool.
It was. I think at one point when they had, I guess about 2 o'clock or 2:30, it really seemed like 600 people or thereabouts.
They got very close to 600. There weren't many glasses left.
It was tight in there.
Yeah.
But it was only for half hour, 45 minutes, and then I think it was the early ones who left then, and they still had people coming in, so it was never really too crowded.
Right. Well, they were talking about maybe moving it to the inlet and jumping it up more. And I don't know. I liked the personalness of it. Everybody got to talk to all the brewers. Everybody got to taste all the beers.
Right. And the amount of lines, I didn't see.
And the lines weren't bad at all.
3 or 4 at a time, which is not bad.
Right. And nobody got in trouble. Nobody had too much to drink. Or behaved poorly because of having too much to drink. So I like it there, and I think it really. Like the people who went to that, they're all like, when is the next one? And we're hoping to do something fun in February, which I'll tell you is about once I know.
And there's something to exclusivity.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
More hit you the pre-sales, which makes it easier to predict how much you're going to need.
Absolutely. So if we kept it at 600 and had 600 sold the day of, that would be,
It tells the brewers how much beer to bring.
They know how much beer to bring.
And the food vendors, it makes everybody's life a lot easier.
And I think everybody did
very well. Upset people when you run out of beer or the food runs out,
or it takes too long, or
they know how many are coming. From history, they know what to have.
Yeah, and the food trucks is an excellent point, because there were just the 2 that were even available to be there. So, you know, if there were 1,000 people and just 2 food trucks, that would be a nightmare. You know, so, and we could have, I think that if we did it on the inlet, we could get to 2,000. But I think having it this late in the season, there's always a chance of weather. There's always a fear that things are going to go poorly. Keep it at 600 and you use it as just what I think it turned out to be. And I've gotten, again, a lot of emails that kind of confirm this. Is it turned out to be more of like there is a, you know, there's a short beer trails and stuff like that. People came to town, and now when they come back, they're like, oh, I went to this brewery, and you know, they're gonna, when they're in a local restaurant, when they see a tap of a brewery that they tried something from,
then hopefully we'll try that one.
Yeah. I feel like they'll. So I don't know. We haven't had a debriefing yet, but I would have no problem at all with keeping it the same size. Because I think it was a perfect size, and I think it went very well.
I didn't realize that was there. I mean, I've been by that place many times and never realized that park was actually there.
I didn't know. I wasn't sure I could find it. I'm usually late to everything. I was actually a little bit early because I wasn't 100% sure where it was going to be or whether I'd be able to park. So it was that Sunset Park. If you've never been, but you've been to Ocean City, when you come over the Route 50 bridge.
We went by twice before we finally realized it. My wife said it's right by the Coast Guard. So then we looked real close, and there it was.
Yeah, it's just that little thing. When you come over the Route 50 bridge and you go down toward the inlet, before you make the first turn as if you're going through the inlet, it's right there, directly there on your right-hand side. It's across the street from the tram, from the bus stop or whatever. Yeah. But lots of fun. We actually went back there yesterday, Kelly and I, and got some weather photos because it was stormy and Ocean City so pretty.
The only thing I didn't like about the event was setting up and unsetting up. Mm-hmm. The fact you only get 1 or 2 vehicles in
at a time.
Yeah. If they had some way to open that back up so you could
drive around in a circle, and
we had to wait for everybody to get out before I could get in, and then actually I could turn around up at the end because it didn't have chairs, the stage and stuff wasn't there anymore. But we were the last ones out. It's just I have a trailer, and with the pickup and the trailer, it's tough.
There's no way to
that far in.
So well again, I think there's gonna be some discussion, and we'll see what everybody thinks. But it was a great event, and I had a great time, and it was beautiful out. Sold a couple books, got to talk to some people. The brewers all seemed to be at least pretty happy. You know, it was just a fun time. So thanks if you came out. If you didn't, mark your calendars, because if I have my way, the tickets are good. Yeah, and they're all going to be sold out by October 3rd. You know, so that was a Sure Craft Beer Fest. And the reason I wanted to talk about that was because one of the news pieces we had this week is more talk about the big beer merger with SAB. And InBev, InBev Bud is going to buy Miller. Yeah. I don't want to get technical. There are too many letters there. But it looks like Bud will buy Miller. And one of the things that the article that we read said, and we had already discussed this, is that for Budweiser and Miller, it's more about, they feel like it's more about global distribution and making it easier.
I think that's one thing that seems sad to me, that here the biggest I guess there's 2 biggest, Bud and Miller, are no longer owned by U.S. companies.
They're not even American beers anymore. And so they're looking to find a way to get into new markets and to make it easier for themselves. And what was interesting to me in the stories, when they were talking about, you know, this consolidating distribution, that kind of rang my bell, because you talk to a lot of these brewers, especially those who don't self-distribute, and that's kind of a problem for them. Like it's already an issue to get shelf space for a lot of those guys who distribute. And if it turns out that, you know, that the 3-tier system is really just a 2-tier system in disguise, it could be a problem.
I think that's the craft breweries have seen that for a while now, because they've been fighting for shelf space where Budweiser's had probably 50% of the shelf space,
Right.
and for all their products, and then Miller and Coors and everybody else down the road, so that the craft beer is going to be left with small section now.
Right.
People are becoming more and more asking for beers, and I think the retailers have taken upon themselves to increase that shelf space for the craft beers because they're getting more calls for it.
Right, absolutely, and that brings us to the next one, which is what craft beer really is. But before we talk about that, I wanted to tell you I got to sit down with Al Stewart this week from Stuarts Brewing in there, and it was cool to talk to him because he's also been in it for 20 years as well.
But they don't distribute, do they?
They don't. But
Yeah.
he's talking about. He was talking about when he first started out and taps, and it used to be, and he was talking about why he doesn't distribute. He likes to do whatever he wants,
and it puts it on tap.
and it's not worth it to him. He's like, he has some friends who have bars, and he'll send them a keg here and a keg there, or if he's making something he
So he
thinks
can
is cool,
self-distribute if he wants. But
right? And that's he'll call. He said the Pig and Fish. There are 2 places I think of, Rehoboth, and then maybe another place in Bear or something. But he said it's not worth it. Actually, he said because
probably Pickled Pig and Pig and Fish, they're both very big beer bars. I think they're owned by the
same guy.
I think so.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
And he said, because he goes to other breweries or brew pubs, not brew pubs, other bars to see what's going on. And he said it used to be that there were only big beers and then 2 craft beers, and one was Sam Adams and one was something else. And he said now there are 10 taps or 15 taps, but he said still 10 of those 15 taps are owned one way or another
by the big guys.
By the big guys, because you'll have Blue Moon, you'll have Blue Silent,
and now it's Budweiser, InBev, SAB, and who owns Coors or part of Coors?
I thought it was Coors.
Okay, so there you got just 2, and eventually you're going to have
That's
big guy.
One big beer that will have still probably. And again, when everyone's like, can craft beer survive? They've been surviving fine, and they already have 70. Like if they can keep 75% of the market, it seems like they might be perfectly happy with that.
Well, if not, they'll buy the brewery up and present themselves as somebody else.
And that brings us to our next story, which we talked about this. I don't know if it was you or Sean, but this was maybe 6 months ago, maybe longer. The guy who sued Miller because he didn't know that Blue Moon was a was it right?
I don't know if it was me or Sean either.
But anyway, so Blue Moon, this guy sued Miller saying that he didn't know that Blue Moon wasn't a craft beer, and they finally made its way to court. He lost. No one thought he was going to win.
But if you like it, you drink it. If you don't like it, don't drink it.
Absolutely.
What does it matter whether it's a craft beer? It's just a technicality or a regulation, and part of it is how they're taxed. But the big guys, I think, pay a little bit more tax than the little guys, which is great because it helps the little guy out a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's just how the breweries are regulated by how much output they have.
Right,
So-
and that's not decided. What they pointed out in the legal decision is that isn't decided by the federal government. There's no legal definition of craft beer. There is a guild, the Brewers Association, and they decide who's in the guild and what rules you have to follow to be in the guild. And it's funny because what we talked about the first time was, one of the best, if you want to make sure you're not drinking a Miller product, if it's that important to you that you're not drinking a Budweiser product, then do what I do, walk around the corner, look the brewer in the eye, and ask him or her for a pint of beer,
And you do that at craft breweries.
And you do that to go to the brewery, and one of the things that I put in the blog, but we want to talk about a little bit, is, you can ask them, what do you drink? What do you like? And John Talkington, who's a brewer at Dogfish Head, he always has nice things to say about Budweiser. He's always like, they have the kind of quality control, for example,
which we have.
That other brewers can only dream of. And
I know that Dogfish over the years has gone from no quality control to, I mean, I remember days when a beer got out of that wasn't good.
Yeah.
And Sam looked at somebody and say, "What did you taste the beer?" Well, no, don't forget to taste that one. Their quality control was tasting each batch to make sure that batch tasted good. And
right.
That was their quality control at that time. But when you only have half a dozen people in the brewery,
it's not easy to do.
No. Now they've got a quality control lab. I know that they do tastings on every batch.
Yeah, and they've got chemists
right.
and all sorts of things. But I don't recall who this was. I was speaking with. It may have been you, but I don't know. At the Short Craft Beer Fest, and they were saying that Budweiser flies in all of their beers from all over the world.
Oh wow! For consistency
to make sure they're consistent. So like,
I know, like I said, I know Dogfish has a very good lab, but I don't think Burley or Tall Tales, or Third Wave, or OC Brewing. I don't know of any other.
Do you know who has a lab? Eastern Shore Beer, Eastern Shore Brewing, because the reason is because they had a little trouble when they started, and that'll get you a lab right quick when they had a couple bad batches and people got really mad at them. So now they have a lab.
But that said, I know that Dogfish does help some of the local breweries with
process stuff
with technical problems because they do have a lab.
Right. So anyway, if you want to make sure you're not drinking a Miller product or a Coors product or a Budweiser,
support your local brewery.
Support your local brewery. Don't. There were some people who are mad, and I don't even know if this is true, but I'm going to say it out loud because it feels true. They said that the new Your Father's root beer was owned by PBR or somebody like that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and my complete reaction was I don't, I'm not shocked. I mean that's it's fine with me. If you like it, still drink it. Don't not drink it just because. Don't pretend that you don't like it anymore because you heard it was from, because that's where the hipsterishness comes in. That kind of gives craft beer a bad rap sometimes for no good reason. Because just again, drink what you like and enjoy what you drink. I think I wrote that in the. I think that's going to be our new sign off. We've been looking for a sign off for a full year now. All right, drink what you like and be happy. That's
good.
That
sounds wonderful.
I came up with it by accident, but that's our.
I get asked all the time, what beer do I like the best? And generally, it's the one I'm drinking now.
Absolutely,
because there's so many good beers out there that it's hard to choose. Let alone what we brew ourselves and what's good.
Right, and you don't want to say, well, I have this one beer that I make for myself that you'll never get to try, and that's my favorite. I guess if I were you, that's probably what I would say. Oh, I have this special beer. I only make it for myself. I keep it in a room in my house. It's double locked, and I'm good.
I think you can attest to the fact that our beers are comparable to what you would have from any of the beers.
These are fantastic, and you would like to. It's probably at least 70% true that it's because when you're brewing as often as you're brewing and for as long as you're brewing, you get to be really, really good at it. But that said, especially with the starter kits, I think a lot of people
we're using the same ingredients that our customers use.
Exactly,
and some of it's just procedure and fermentation temperatures.
Patience.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, and you're watching and you follow us closely, eventually a lot of times they'll have tastings with all the customers will bring in different beers to share and to taste. And I'll tell you, there is rare that, especially at an event like that, it's rare to get a bad beer. I mean, sometimes,
or at least something that's you can say is drinkable.
Right.
It may not be, and there again, it may not be great, but you're comparing against all the other beers at that time.
Right.
If you didn't have something to compare against, you may say, this is fine, and I'll drink another pint of that.
Yeah.
Usually my evaluation is whether I want more or not. If I want more, it's acceptable. If I say, no, I don't want more of that, then it's not a good beer.
And there's also a difference between people, because people bring in beers here all the time in the middle of the week, and they'll be like, try this, what do you think?
But it goes back to your saying.
Yeah.
Drink what you like and be happy.
Drink what you like and be happy. So put that on a t-shirt. Yeah. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and say that because we are out of time. We didn't get to talk about IPAs. Maybe we'll talk about them later. There was just somebody was saying you should drink more beer than IPAs.
But drink what you like and be happy.
And that's what made me think of it, because when you start to argue about which beer they're making too much of, that's a problem. Like, it's not like they're making IPAs, but they're forcing people
for a
drink
reason.
People are drinking.
Right.
People are drinking.
If they weren't drinking IPAs, they'd make something else, and they do. I mean, I hate to keep going back to Dogfish, but Dogfish's biggest seller is their 60-minute IPA. And Sam has said numerous times, we could live on 60 IPA sales. Right. And you probably wouldn't had to interview.
Yeah, alone.
He doesn't make that. He doesn't keep it secret.
Right.
But he says we're not just about 60-minute IPA. We're a brewery that does lots of different beers. And yes, you're going to find some you may not like, but we're more than just 60-minute IPA. That's their mainstay, but they do
all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, 30-some different beers a year normally, I think it is.
And so before we sign all the way off, classes this week, just the BBQ?
BBQ this week can't compete with all these different things that are going on. Next week we've got a beer class, I think it is. Yes, because it's homebrew day. It's how do you brew, or show somebody how to brew day.
Oh, teach someone to brew day?
Yeah.
When is that?
Next, the 7th.
Oh, all right. And
Next
you guys
Saturday.
also have an anniversary that day? Or?
No, and then that's the following weekend is our anniversary. We'll be doing all grain demonstration.
Well, let's plan on doing something. Stay tuned. We're going to announce this week, maybe.
That's a definite.
An event, teach someone how to brew day. I might put out a call to see if somebody wants to come in and learn how to brew. And they'll be like,
you got any, Tony?
No, I learned how to brew. I was here last year. But maybe we'll see if somebody will be interested in coming out.
Yes, we'd like to have a lot of people come out. Now, this is just for extract brewing
right.
On the 7th. And if you want to do the 7th, you can also come back the following weekend and see how to do all grain, like the big breweries do, or I should say the craft breweries do.
Right. So that's what we got coming up. On my end, not a lot. You can look for me running around Ocean City. Please follow me at all the social media links, which you can find at extremebrewing.com, EXTREME, or XTREME brewing.com.
That's when you spell it with an E or an X. You can find us at extremebrewing.com.
Absolutely. There you go. Whether you spell with an E or an X, you can find us at extremebrewing.com under everything else. You can also follow me at my name backwards. That is OSSURYNOT. I'm at oceancity.com. I'm sure Crafty. I'm on most of the internet. If something is on the internet and it was written around here, probably I wrote it. So there's that. And until next week, what is it? Drink what you like and be happy. One more time, right? Drink. 1, 2, 3. Drink what you like. I thought we were saying it together.
Oh, we are. Okay. All right.
1, 2, 3.
Drink what you like and be happy.
How ridiculous.